Hey, I'm Sabian, the voice behind the horrors and wonders you're about to explore on this channel. A little about me. I helped shape humanity, was adored by the Egyptians, and oh, I've kicked the bucket more times than I can count on my paws. Yeah, I'm immortal. Every whisper, myth, or bedtime story you've heard about cats probably has its roots tangled up with me. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Every legend has its humble beginnings. Life around the caves was as chill as it gets for a cat like me, Sabian. My days? A cycle of lounging, prowling, and dining on whatever Caveman Bob managed to scrounge up. Good old Bob, not exactly the sharpest spear in the bunch, but when it came to our little arrangement, he was on point. I kept our stone abode free of anything that scurried, and he kept me in scraps. Not too shabby for cave living. Bob, with his unruly beard and tendency to grunt more than speak, was a bit of a character. Our relationship? Purely transactional. I mean, sure, we had our moments, like when he'd accidentally throw a bone my way, hitting me on the head. Oops, his laugh would rumble, echoing off the cave walls. Classic Bob. But then, Bob didn't come back one night. The cave was buzzing. Well, as much as a bunch of pre-modern folks could buzz. Bob's gone, they grunted, looking as confused as a pack of wolves in a rainstorm. His mate was beside herself, pacing and grunting with an urgency I hadn't seen before. Bright light, she managed to get out amidst her grunts. Bob gone. Next thing I know, Bob's mate is pushing me towards the field, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and expectation. Find Bob, she grunted, as if I had a map to wherever misguided cave folk end up. Me? A rescue cat? The idea was almost as laughable as the time Bob tried to invent the wheel and ended up rolling down the hill instead. Reluctantly, I wandered out to where the cows grazed, thinking maybe Bob had just taken a nap, or got lost, again. Choosing Bessie, the fluffiest cow, as my observation post, I settled in. Keep watch, I reminded myself. But, you know, the night was cool, the stars were out, and before I knew it, my eyes were getting heavy. Just as I was drifting off, dreaming about a feast fit for a feline king, it happened. A beam of light, cold and precise, snapped me out of my slumber. Me and Bessie, hoisted into the air by this eerie glow. This is not what I signed up for, I thought, as we ascended into the unknown. Typical Bob, always dragging me into his messes, even when he's not around. The aliens killed the cat. That's me, Sabian, telling you this from beyond, sort of. Let me tell you how it went down in the weirdest night of my many lives. So, there I am, Sabian, in the middle of a real-life space horror flick. Imagine waking up not on your cozy bed of leaves, but on a cold, metallic table in a spaceship, with Bob and Bessie for company. Yep, a spaceship. And no, I'm not pulling your tail here. This is the part where things get a bit hairy. Bob's already on edge, looking like he's about to invent the concept of hyperventilating. And Bessie? She's as clueless as a cow on a moon. Me, I'm just there, wondering if alien ships have any mice to chase. Priorities, right? First up, Bessie gets the honor. The aliens whisk her away, and the sounds that follow, let's just say, if curiosity killed the cat, then what they did to Bessie was curiosity's bigger, meaner brother. There's zapping, mooing, then silence. Bob's freaking out increases by tenfold. Can't blame him. Even I'm starting to feel a tickle of concern beneath my fur. Bob goes next. The poor guy's barely keeping it together as they drag him off. The sounds from his session are enough to make any caveman or cat blanch. Screams, more zapping, and then that eerie quiet. It's like the universe itself is holding its breath. Finally, it's my turn. Honestly, I'm more curious than scared. These aliens, buzzing around with their gadgets, seem to think I'm the next big thing in their experiment lineup. They hook me up to some machine flashing lights like it's trying to communicate via disco. I'm lying there thinking, well, this is a new way to nap. When suddenly, everything ramps up. The machine whirs, the lights blind, and I hear whispers about a unique experiment. Just as I'm pondering what alien cat treats might taste like, it hits. A surge of something I've never felt before, and then nothing. Darkness. I'm out. The experiment, it seems, was too much for this feline frame to handle. And just like that, I'm dead. But here's where it gets weird. I find myself floating, looking down at my own still body in the alien morgue. It's a classic out-of-body moment, except it's me, Sabian, having a cosmic experience. I can hear the aliens bleep and blorp, mumbling about how this was supposed to be the breakthrough they were waiting for. Never tried before, they say. Disappointed, their experiment flopped. There I was, Sabian, doing my best ghost impression in a chilly alien morgue, which is weird since I never signed up for space adventures, especially not the kind where you end up spying on your own motionless fur from above. Glancing around, I caught sight of Bessie and Bob, or what the aliens had left of them. It was like a scene from a horror show, if horror shows had more cow and caveman vibes. Pretty grim stuff, even for a cat who's seen his share of alley scuffles. Eavesdropping on bleep and blorp, I couldn't help but chuckle, silently, of course. We need workers for the gold mines, they said. Gold mines? Really? The thought of me, Sabian, digging for gold was hilarious. Me, the cat who considers a stretch to be a day's hard work, slaving away in some cosmic gold mine? That's a good one. These aliens clearly didn't do their homework. They thought the experiment would turn this one into a worker, I heard one of them say, probably nodding at my napping, well, now ghostly form. The irony wasn't lost on me. A lazy cat turned galactic miner? As if my day couldn't get any stranger, just as I was pondering my new, albeit unwanted existence, and why I was still hanging around instead of heading to the great catnip field in the sky, something unexpected happened. A mysterious force pulled at me, yanking me away from my impromptu spy mission. Guess it's not my time to nap eternally, I mused. These aliens have no idea who they're dealing with. And with that, my spirit adventure took a sharp turn, leaving me to wonder where in the universe I'd end up next. One thing was for sure. If these aliens thought they had worker material in me, they were barking up the wrong tree. So there I was, Sabian, kind of floating and kind of not. You know, stuck in that weird space where you're not awake, but definitely not asleep either. That's when this big, glowing ball of light shows up. Yep, you guessed it, that was God. Or at least, that's who he said he was. Looked more like a giant, shiny disco ball, if you ask me. Yo, Sabian, God said, like we were just two pals hanging out. We've got a tiny problem. Those space weirdos you met, they're planning some not-so-nice stuff for Earth. And well, I kinda need someone on the inside to help sort it out. I blinked. Or at least I would have if I had a body at that moment. Me? You sure you dialed the right number? I mean, I'm flattered and all, but you do know I'm just a cat, right? And not exactly the hero type. God just chuckled. Yeah, I know. But that's exactly why it's gotta be you. You're real, Sabian. A bit rough around the edges, sure, but you've got heart. Plus, I've seen you chase down a mouse. You've got skills. Now, the idea of going back with some super cool powers did sound pretty epic. Okay, so what's the catch? I asked. You get to be a superhero, God explained, but you gotta look out for the little guys. Think you can handle that? I pondered. Do I get to nap as much as I want? When God assured me the powers came with no nap restrictions, I was sold. All right, I'm in. But I'm doing things my way. Zap. Just like that, I was back on the alien table, feeling more alive than ever and with some fancy new abilities to boot. Shape-shifting? Check. Not needing to snack on mice anymore? Double check. Sitting up, I realized the aliens hadn't noticed my little resurrection show. They were in for a surprise. With my new powers, it was time to turn the tables. Not only did the alien experiment work, it worked really well. I feel great. The sensation of waking up this time was different. Like I was charged with a static buzz that made my fur stand on end and gave me a sense of power I'd never felt before. There I was, Sabian, not just any cat, but a cat with a body humming with alien nanites. The cold, hard slab in the morgue wasn't exactly the comfiest bed I'd ever slept on, but considering I was supposed to be dead, I wasn't going to complain. First order of business was getting out of this morgue. The door, sealed with high-tech security, meant for Anunnaki hands, didn't look too welcoming, but those nanites buzzing inside me? They seemed ready to take on any challenge. With a deep focus, almost like coaxing a particularly stubborn mouse out of hiding, I felt my paw morph, adapting into the alien tech's idea of a key. The door beeped in approval, sliding open with a hiss that sounded like freedom. The corridors of the ship were quiet, too quiet. It gave me the creeps, but it also meant sneaking around would be easier. Now, to find Bob. He wasn't just any human to me. He was my ticket to those juicy mammoth steaks. More than that, though, he was my friend. Maybe I can bring him back, I thought. The idea was wild, even for a day that had already turned my 9 lives upside down. Finding Bob was surprisingly straightforward. There he was, laid out with all the care of a leftover lunch. It was a sorry sight, and for a moment, I hesitated. Could I really do this? The nanites within me buzzed, as if urging me on. Let's give it a shot, I decided. After all, what had I got to lose? The process was intuitive, like I was born to do it. Guided by the nanites, I focused on Bob, willing him to be whole again. It wasn't just about patching him up, it was about making him better. The nanites danced under my command, weaving through Bob's form, repairing, enhancing, transforming. Slowly, the battered remains of my caveman friend took on a new shape, his features refining, his body strengthening. By the time I was done, Bob wasn't just back. He was improved, a new model of humanity ready to take on the world. As Bob's eyes fluttered open, a new light within them, I couldn't help but feel a swell of pride. Welcome back, Bob. Bob and I were tiptoeing through those alien corridors, trying to be as quiet as a pair of mice plotting a midnight snack raid. Then, Bob's eyes lit up like a shooting star as he spotted something that made us freeze. Villagers in a pickle, looking like they needed rescuing faster than a cat chasing a laser pointer. With Bob's heart of gold and a conscience the size of the Milky Way, he gave me that look that said, "We've gotta help them, Sabian." Against my better judgment, we veered off track and charged headfirst into trouble. As we approached, the Anunnaki sensed us, their eyes sparkling with mischief as they abandoned their weird experiments. "Bleep! I thought you took care of that pesky cat," one of them grumbled to the other. "Well, guess not. Let's finish what we started." In the blink of an eye, a psychic blast ripped through the air, sending my head rolling like a tumbleweed. Bob stood frozen, looking like he'd seen a ghost, as my body flopped to the ground like a fish out of water. But just as things were getting grimmer than a rainy day in a cat shelter, a miracle unfolded. My head started regenerating like it was trying out for a superhero audition. As fear flickered in their eyes and they realized their epic fail, I felt the cosmic power coursing through my veins like I'd just discovered a new flavor of tuna. With newfound swagger and a dash of sass, I let out a roar that would make even the bravest dog whimper and lunged at the bewildered Anunnaki, claws out and ready for action. They were about as prepared for my furry fury as a mouse at a cat convention. In a whirlwind of fur and chaos, I tore through bleep and blorp, like they were made of catnip, their confusion reaching levels usually reserved for humans trying to understand quantum physics. Sometimes, the best lessons are the ones that leave a mark, even if it's just a scratch. Taking control of the ship was easier than stealing the last slice of pizza at a party, thanks to my genius-level feline intellect and some nifty upgrades from my late alien pals. With the controls in my paws, we set our course back to Earth, leaving behind a trail of chaos and cat hair. Just another hair-raising adventure in the wild and whisker-filled life of Sabian, the cat who refuses to go quietly into the night.